I was 12, my sister disappeared for 3 days. My parents told me to say she was visiting an aunt. There was no aunt. She came home bruised and quiet. I asked her what happened, and she just said, "Don't ask." My parents told me if anyone asked, I had to stick to the story. I didn't even know how to lie yet, I rehearsed it in the mirror. At school, her best friend cried in the hallway. I said nothing. Years later, I found out where she'd really been, and why. When I was 12, my older sister Tessa disappeared for 3 days. My parents told me to say she was visiting an aunt if anyone asked. There was no aunt. She came home bruised and quiet. When I asked what happened, she just said, "Don't ask." Years later, I found out where she'd really been and why the lie had to be maintained. It was September, and 7th grade had just started for me. Tessa was 16, a junior in high school with a small circle of close friends. Our house was always quiet. Dad worked long hours at a manufacturing plant, and Mom kept herself busy with community activities. We weren't especially close as sisters, with the 4-year age gap feeling much wider than it actually was. On a Wednesday morning, I woke up to find Tessa's bed empty, which wasn't unusual. She often left early to meet her friends before school. But that evening, when I got home, she still wasn't there. Mom was in the kitchen, phone pressed to her ear, speaking in hushed tones. I asked about Tessa after she hung up. Mom told me Tessa was visiting our Aunt Rita in Lakewood for a few days. When I pointed out we didn't have an Aunt Rita, Mom gripped the kitchen counter and instructed me to tell anyone who asked that exact story. No questions allowed. Just remember what she told me. Dad came home early that night. He and Mom spoke in their bedroom with the door closed. Their voices rose and fell, though I couldn't make out the words. When they emerged, Dad looked pale and angry. When I asked if Tessa was okay, he insisted she was fine and reminded me to remember what Mom had told me. That night, I stood in front of my bathroom mirror practicing the lie about Aunt Rita in Lakewood. I repeated it with different inflections until it sounded natural. I'd never had to lie about something important before. The next day at school, Tessa's best friend, Bryn, cornered me in the hallway before first period. Her eyes were red and puffy. She demanded to know where Tessa was, saying she wasn't answering her phone. I recited my practice line about Aunt Rita. Bryn stared at me and stated plainly that we didn't have an Aunt Rita. I insisted we did. I claimed she didn't visit much. She started crying right there.